in the last class, we started talking about what is meant by stability of slopes. In the process, we went on to understand in which all possible cases we come across with the failure of your slope and what could be the different measures that we can take in order to avoid this slope stability failures. And we further discussed about how to understand the condition of the slope, whether it is failing or not. So we said that so-called failure, whatever is expected to happen in your slope. So we are going to understand that failure in terms of what is called as factor of safety is what we have discussed. And then we said we went on to define what is factor of safety, either in terms of the forces or either in terms of stresses or either in terms of rotation. Okay, so that's nothing but moment. So in terms of anything, we have talked about how to define your factor of safety. And certainly something we have also talked about the different modes of failure in your slope, whether the failure is happening within the slope region itself, whether the so-called failure surface what is getting developed is within the slope region itself, okay, or is it getting developed failure surface is passing through your toe portion, or whether the failure surface is passing through the base region of that particular foundation on which your so-called slope is existing. And now let me also give you an insight into so let's say, for example, if I am having a slope like this, if this is the slope what I am looking at. Now, in this particular slope, if I say this to be my failure surface, this so-called failure surface, what I am just trying to define, okay, this failure arc or failure surface or a failure plane, whatever we are trying to define. So how is this failure surface or your failure envelope is going to be like? Is it going to be like a curve? The failure arc, is it going to be like a curve? Or are we going to have what is called as a planar failure? Okay, if this is my slope again, so are we going to have the failure in the slope like this? Okay, this is called as your planar failure surface, where this kind of failure, where the failure surface what is getting generated there is nothing but it's a kind of arc of a circle. Okay, so this mode of failure is what we call it as rotational failure, where you see the failure surface is like an arc of a circle. So when I said it's like an arc of a circle, so the center of this arc would be at some other point. Okay, so this point is what we call it as your center of the arc. So with this much radius, that is nothing but from this point to this point, let's say R be the radius of that center of the arc. So your failure surface, what we are trying to define there is nothing but it is a curved failure surface. So such mode of failure what you are going to be having in your slope, where you are going to have what is called as a rotational failure. So you are going to see the rotation happening in your part of the soil mass, and due to that rotation whatever is taking place, you are going to see the failure happening in your slope. And coming to the second case, so this is this mode of failure whatever you are trying to define here. So the failure surface is something like a straight line. Okay, so such mode of failure is what we call it as, or that particular failure surface is what we call it as planar failure surface, or this particular mode of failure is what I can call it as your translational failure. In the case of your translational failure, you are going to be seeing the sliding happening along some particular plane in some particular direction. So such mode of failure is what is called as translational failure. And the other cases, because of the rotation in part of the soil mass, you are going to see the failure. So which I am calling it as your rotational failure. Okay. So with this, now let's go on to understand the analysis of two different types of slopes, which we started talking about earlier, depending on the extent to which the slope is extended. So one is infinite slope and the other is finite slope. Okay, So as of today's class discussion is concerned, we'll be focusing on what is called as the slope stability analysis of infinite slope, and then in the next subsequent classes we'll focus on the slope stability analysis of your finite slopes based on different methods which we have as of the syllabus is concerned. Okay, so now what does this infinite slope mean? So as we have already told, like if the extent to which this slope is extended, or if that particular slope, whatever we are looking at, if it is extended to relatively long distances, then such slope is what we call it as your infinite slope. If your slope of the sloping ground or that inclined ground, if it is extended relatively to smaller distances with variation in small height itself, the slope indicating the variation in the height of that geotechnical structure, maybe an embankment or maybe something else. If the variation of the slope is constrained only for smaller heights, then such slopes are called as your finite slope. Okay. So how do we analyze a given slope based on your how do we analyze a given infinite slope is what we are looking at now. So in the analysis of your infinite slopes, to understand whether that particular given slope is stable or unstable, if it is stable, what is the factor of safety that you have got against the stability of the slope and so on. So if we need to find out, so we have got certain assumptions behind that particular theory based on which you will be estimating your factor of safety for the infinite slope. Okay. So when it comes to the case of your infinite slope, there are certain assumptions what we need to understand. Once we understand those assumptions, then we'll move ahead in understanding how to calculate the factor of safety of such infinite slopes, taking into consideration of various aspects like when there is no effect of water table or when there is an effect of water table and all such conditions. Okay. So what are those different assumptions according to which we'll be looking at the slope stability analysis of infinite slopes means? So to start with, the slope face, this so-called slope face what we are trying to talk about, this slope of that ground is planar and it is extended to an infinite extent. It is that slope is extended to an infinite distance. That is what it means. And that slope is not irregular like this. Rather, the slope what we are referring to is a planar slope. Okay, so that is one of the assumption. Second assumption what we are referring to is the so-called failure surface, whatever is expected to get developed. If at all that infinite slope is failing, so that so-called failure surface, the surface along which that failure is happening in that infinite slope, so that failure surface is assumed to be getting developed parallel to your slope face. It means your slope face is this, and that so-called failure surface, whatever we are assuming it to be getting developed in this infinite slope. So we assume that the failure surface gets developed. Okay, this whatever we are indicating here is your failure plane. Okay, so this failure plane, we are assuming it to be getting developed parallel to that of your ground. Okay, and that's your inclined to that inclined surface, your failure plane is going to be parallel. And next, the third condition is whatever the water surface, that is your flow that is taking place through your infinite slope through the soil existing to an infinite extent. So in that particular slope, okay, the water surface, the water flow, the seepage through that particular soil is the direction of that water surface is assumed to be parallel to that of your sloping face. So there are three conditions what we are assuming here. The ground to be continuously inclined with the same inclination. Second is the so-called failure plane what is getting developed should be considered parallel to that of your sloping ground. And third, the water table or your water surface what we are indicating is also considered to be parallel to that of your ground. Okay, so these are some major assumptions what we make in the analysis of your infinite slopes. So whether it is a finite slope or infinite slope, so irrespective of it, how do we determine our factor of safety of that particular slope means? Already we have talked about it in the last class. We said factor of safety is nothing but how much is the resistance getting developed divided by what is the force or stress which is responsible for causing the failure in the soil. Okay, it could be finite soil or slope which is finite or which could be infinite. It doesn't matter. So how do we define factor of safety? Means what is the strength available to that of how much is the stress what you are inducing in the soil. That's what it is. So applied shear strength of the soil, available shear strength of the soil to that of your applied shear stresses. So how much shear stresses are getting developed, and subsequently how much was the strength available for that particular soil. If you know those two parameters, we'll be able to calculate what is the corresponding factor of safety of that particular slope. Yeah. So in the process of analyzing your given infinite slope, so first what we are considering is the case of a C5 soil. C5 soil means that particular soil has got cohesion as well as angle of shearing resistance. Sir, is it compulsory that all soils should have C5 parameters? No, some soils will have only C parameter, that is cohesion only term would be there. Some soils will have only angle of shearing resistance. Some soils would have both C and 5 parameters. Okay. So if I say only C is there, it means 5 is 0. If I say only 5 value exists, C value is equal to 0. I am considering both C5 parameters to be existing for the soil, and I go on to derive your expression for determining the factor of safety. And accordingly, I can try to simplify my expression. If I say the soil is purely cohesive, it means only C term would be there and phi term is going to be 0. If I say the soil is purely cohesionless, it means that your C term is going to be 0 and phi term would be existing. So according to that, what would be there, what will not be there, so is what we'll try to understand upon simplifying it. And here I'm also taking into consideration of the effect of water table, and there is no effect of water table. Okay. So if there is no effect of water table, what will be my expression for factor of safety in the case of infinite slope? If I take into consideration of the effect of water table, okay, if water table is at ground or if water table is at somewhere in between, then also still, if we are trying to look at how to calculate the factor of safety, we can do that. For all different combinations, for all different cases, we can try to understand that. Okay, so now what is that we are trying to do here? So first let us try to understand. So it's very simple equilibrium conditions which we are going to be applying, and we are going to be solving it. Okay, let's look at this, whatever we have. This is my infinite slope, what I am trying to look at. And we are considering that so-called failure surface, whatever is expected to be getting developed. We are assuming that failure surface, this is my failure surface, which is a planar surface. If you see here, that so-called failure surface, whatever we are trying to define, is in one particular direction. Okay, so such failure surface is what is called as a planar failure surface. And here, let's say for example, I have my the height of this soil layer is something h. Now what I am trying to consider is, let's say the water table is somewhere here. This is the position of your water table. I just want to consider that yes, my water table is at some height, small h, from your failure surface. Now what I am just trying to do is, I am trying to consider small elemental strip portion of your finite slope. It's small elemental strip of width L. The width of the elemental strip is L. Let me say this is point A, point B, point C, and point D. Okay, and what is the distance A to D? Okay, before I start talking about, let's say that so-called failure surface, whatever I am trying to define, makes an angle of inclination alpha with the horizontal. Okay, I repeat. So this alpha angle is nothing but the angle made by your infinite slope with the horizontal. So that's what it is, because we are assuming that your failure surface to be parallel to that of your ground, inclined ground. Okay, so in the other way, I am also saying that your failure surface, whatever we are trying to talk about, is existing at an inclination of alpha with the horizontal. Okay, so once I know my failure surface is inclined at an inclination of alpha with the horizontal, then first let me go on to understand how many, what is my factor of safety? How do I define my factor of safety here? Because once I know how to define the factor of safety, so for writing down that factor of safety, what are those terms that are required to us? We'll try to understand, and then accordingly we'll go on to calculate them. Okay, so factor of safety is what we said as shear strength. Of the soil, or otherwise we can also say the available shear strength of the soil, or what is the shear strength of that particular soil along that assumed failure surface, divided by what is that corresponding shear stress which is trying to cause the failure in your soil. Okay, so what is the amount of shear stress that you are inducing in that particular soil, or I can say the shear stress available, sorry, applied rather. So how much is that shear stress that you are trying to apply there, because of which the failure is getting developed in the soil. Okay, so if I am looking at this small soil element of width L, in the other direction, perpendicular to this plane, whatever I am seeing in this particular direction, the extent to which this particular slope is extended is some distance which we do not know. So what we consider is, for every 1 unit width dimension in that direction is what we are going to be looking at. Okay, so please do understand, for every 1 unit width in the direction perpendicular to this plane on which I am representing my failure surface. So for every 1 unit width in that direction, I am considering the failure, and accordingly the stresses are going to be calculated for every 1 unit width dimension in that direction. Okay, so if I am looking at my soil element A, B, C, D, and in the other direction it is for every 1 unit width, so no issue. So this particular A, B, C, D soil element, whatever I have chosen, will have certainly some weight. Okay, let's say the weight of that particular soil element will be acting at the CG of that soil element. Okay, so what will be the weight of that soil element? I am representing the weight of the soil element as W. Now, how do I write down the weight of soil element ABCD equal to? Okay, so that weight of the soil element ABCD is what I can write it as. How do we write down weight? Weight is nothing but unit weight of the soil into the corresponding volume of that particular soil. Now, if I want to write down what is the volume of that particular soil, first I'll try to write down what is the area of that soil element. Okay, so the area, weight of that soil element ABCD is nothing but unit weight of the soil into volume of soil element ABCD. Yeah, volume is what we can write it as area of element ABCD into 1, because perpendicular to this direction I am considering for every 1 unit width. Okay, so it's into 1 is what I am multiplying the area with. So it's nothing but gamma into, what is area of ABCD? So area of ABCD is nothing but the height of your elemental strip is H, the height of the soil layer, into the width of that particular soil layer. If I am trying to look at, it's nothing but L. Okay, so my weight of the soil element ABCD that I am looking at is nothing but it is gamma into L into H into 1. So no issue. So gamma into L into H gives me what is your weight of the soil element ABCD. And where does that weight act? Weight is going to be acting at the CG of that particular elemental strip. Now, once I understand the value of your weight of that chosen soil element, now let me understand to resolve this weight into components. Why is that I am going to be resolving this weight into components? Because I am making my life simple in resolving the weight into components, because I am required to calculate your stresses. How much stress was causing the failure? How much is that resisting stress that is getting developed? So how do we, in which direction we will be representing? Along this failure surface. I repeat, along this failure surface, you are going to be understanding how much stress is getting developed and how much is the stress which is getting resisted. Okay, how much is my resisting stress? How much is my stress causing the failure? So if that is the value what I am required to calculate, so what is that I am going to be looking at basically? So I would be really interested in calculating. Okay, so let me once again take an empty space. Okay, this is my infinite slope what I am looking at. This is the position of water table. I'm assuming the water table to be somewhere. Later on, if there is no effect of water table, or if the water table is still the ground, so we'll try to accordingly calculate what we require. And we said that this distance from here to here is nothing but h, and this distance from here to here is nothing but small h. Okay, and this angle at which the failure surface is existing is what we said as alpha angle. And we went on to say this is our elemental strip, what we have considered A, okay, maybe B, C, D. Okay, so ABCD is the notation what I am using here, and we went on to say this width is L. Now, if I say the width of the elemental strip is L, then can I know what is the distance between points A and D? If I want to find out the distance between point A and D, so this slope is nothing but we call it as alpha. This dimension between these two, this is L what we are looking at. So what happens to your A to D distance which I wanted to calculate. So if I want to calculate my A to D distance, I can say that it is nothing but L by cos alpha. So how can I write down? Let's say this point is something point E. So from triangle A, E, D, if I am looking at, so from triangle ADE, if I want to calculate what is my AD distance, which is nothing but the hypotenuse, knowing what is your AE distance, which we are writing it as L. So what I can simply say is cos alpha, which is nothing but adjacent side is your AE and hypotenuse is your AD. Okay. So from this, I can go on to say AD is nothing but AE is L by cos alpha. Okay. So that's how I am able to get my AD distance. Right. Now, we earlier said that at the CG point, the weight of the soil element will be acting, and that weight which we have already calculated is nothing but gamma into L into H. Now, I already said that we are going to be resolving this particular weight into components. One component parallel to the failure surface, what you have assumed, other is going to be perpendicular to the failure surface. So, I am going to resolve your weight into components in two mutually perpendicular directions. One direction parallel to the failure surface, other direction perpendicular to your failure surface. Okay. So, the direction perpendicular to the failure surface means this. The direction parallel to the failure surface means this. So the component of the weight in this direction, which is said to be tangential to the direction of the failure surface, and this is nothing but it's the component of the weight which is perpendicular to the direction of your failure surface. Okay. So this is what is W, and this component I am writing it as something N. This component, let's say I am writing it as something capital T, where capital T is what I am writing it as your tangential force component, and capital N is what I am writing it as your normal force component. Capital T indicates here tangential force component. Tangential force component of what? Tangential force component of weight W. Likewise, N indicates normal force component of weight W. Now, what becomes my normal force component and tangential force component? If you look at here, this weight, whatever we are indicating, that's in the vertical direction. Your normal direction makes an angle of inclination alpha with your vertical. Okay. So the direction which is said to be normal to that of your failure surface, this is your failure surface. So the direction of your normal makes an inclination alpha with your vertical direction. So how do we say that? Okay. If I am understanding it more clearly, we said with the horizontal, this failure surface makes an inclination alpha, And if I say this to be horizontal, I'll have some direction vertical like this. This remaining angle is going to be 90 minus alpha. And if I am going to be representing what I am calling it as your normal direction, okay, so this angle is going to be again alpha. This is your vertical direction. This is your horizontal direction. And this is your inclined direction. That's nothing but the failure surface direction. So what I am just trying to get here is your axis, which is said to be normal, or the normal force component, makes an angle of inclination alpha with your vertical direction. That's what I mean to say. So with that, I can go on to say your normal force component is nothing but W cos alpha from the simple geometry, and your tangential force component. So that tangential force component itself, later on I'll try to make use of in calculating how much is the shear stress that is getting developed along that failure surface. Where does the tangential force component get developed? So the tangential force component gets developed parallel to this failure surface. And your force that is resisting the failure would be getting developed opposite to the direction of your expected failure direction. Okay, right. So what becomes your tangential force component along that failure surface? So tangential force component along the failure surface is nothing but I can write it as W into sine alpha. That's from your simple geometry, because in the normal axis direction, if it is W cos alpha, then automatically in the tangential direction it is going to be W sine alpha. So we already know what is your W value equal to, so which is nothing but gamma into L into H. So your normal force component, or your component of the force which is acting normal to your failure surface, is nothing but what I can rewrite it as gamma into L into H into cos alpha, and tangential component is what I can write it as gamma into L into H into sine alpha. Okay. So normal component is known, tangential component is known. Next, I want to calculate how much is your shear stress that is developed along the failure surface, how much is the shear strength that is existing along your failure surface. So if I want to talk about how much is the shear stress developed causing the failure, how much is the shear strength developed which is or shear strength mobilized which is resisting the failure. So I can go on to say shear strength mobilized is nothing but it is the shear strength of the soil, which we call it as, it's a shear strength of the soil. So how do we write down the shear strength of the soil? In terms of your effective stress parameters, if I try to calculate in terms of your effective shear strength parameters, if I'm writing it, then I'll be writing it as C dash plus sigma dash into tan phi dash. This is going to be your expression, what we'll be making use of for determining the shear strength of the soil in terms of its effective shear strength parameters, which we are going to be getting this C dash and phi dash parameters. If at all I'm making use of it, we'll be getting it from your CD test. On a longer run, we are trying to understand the stability aspects of that particular infinite slope. Right. Next is after knowing what is the shear strength of that particular soil, other thing what I'll be interested in looking at is calculating what is your shear stress developed, which is causing the failure. So how much is that shear stress which is developed along that failure surface, which is responsible for causing the failure in your soil. Okay. So that shear stress, let me write it as tau. And how do we calculate this shear stress? This shear stress is nothing but shear force divided by on what area this particular shear force is acting. Okay. So if I know what is the shear force here is nothing but it is tangential force component. Tangential force component of what? Weight. Okay. So the tangential force component of weight is what we call it as your shear force, because once we say tangential, it is the force which is acting parallel to your failure surface. Okay. Divided by the area on which above force is acting. On which area the above force is acting? It is going to be acting on some area which is lying on a plane, which is your failure plane. Okay, so we'll go on to understand what is that area and how much is that particular shear force and so on. So this tau value is nothing but it is equal to T by area. Now let us understand how do I write down that much? What is the value of that particular area? If I am looking at my soil element, assume this to be your soil element A, B, C, D. Okay. So for this particular soil element A, B, C, D, along this failure surface, this is your failure surface, right? So along this failure surface, what is the total strength of the soil that is getting mobilized, total stress that is getting mobilized, which is resisting the failure in the soil. So if I just want to understand, so that is what we write it as your tau resistance. That's nothing but which we are calling it as the shear strength of the soil. Okay. And what is that particular shear stress that is responsible for driving the soil in the downward direction, which is initiating the failure in the soil? So which we are writing it as tau. And this tau value is nothing but it is equal to the amount of tangential force component acting parallel to your failure surface. Now, what is my failure surface? So if I am looking at my small soil element, the area of this failure surface, if I want to understand within that considered small soil element, so width of that failure surface from B to C distance. So that distance B to C is nothing but it is equal to AD distance. So BC is nothing but I can write it as L by cos alpha. And if I want to know what is the area of that failure surface, so the width of this failure surface is L by cos alpha distance is what we are referring. And what is this dimension in this direction? So in the dimension in the direction perpendicular to this is what we are considering for every 1 unit width. So I can write my shear stress, what is getting developed, which is causing the failure. Okay, so shear stress induced in the soil along that failure surface is nothing but T by area, where this T is nothing but tangential force component, which we have calculated earlier as W sin alpha, where W was nothing but gamma into L into H into and subsequent sin alpha component divided by what is the area? Area is nothing but BC into for every 1 meter in this direction. Okay, so this is nothing but gamma into L into H into sin alpha by L by cos alpha, and this comes out to be gamma into L into H into, sorry, L gets cancelled. So automatically what I'll have is gamma into H into sin alpha into cos alpha is going to be your expression for shear stress, what is getting developed along that particular failure surface. So this much shear stress is responsible in causing the failure in your soil. And how much is that total strength that is getting resisted? So which we call it as the shear strength of the soil, tau R, which we are writing it as C dash plus sigma dash tan phi dash. Now, if you look at this particular expression, because ultimately factor of safety is nothing but total resisting stress by total stress, which is causing the failure in the soil. Okay, this is induced shear stress. This is resisting shear stress. Other way, if I want to write it. Okay, so induced shear stress is what we have already calculated, which is nothing but gamma into H into sin alpha into cos alpha. Now, how much is your resisting shear stress? That's nothing but the shear strength of the soil. So shear strength of the soil is what we are writing it as C dash plus sigma dash. What is this sigma dash equal to? Sigma dash is nothing but it is your effective normal stress. So how do we write down the effective normal stress? Effective normal stress is nothing but total normal stress minus pore water pressure. Okay, so this is equal to T dash plus sigma minus U into tan phi dash. Okay, so tan phi dash. So U is nothing but pore water pressure. So here first let me consider without the effect of your water table. So we say there is no effect of water table. So in case 1, what I am dealing with, if no water table, so if we are not considering the effect of water table, then what happens to this pore water pressure? Pore water pressure comes out to be 0. So your effective stress in simple terms is nothing but your total stress only. Now, what is going to be your total stress value equal to? How do I calculate total stress, which is nothing but the normal stress? Normal stress is nothing but normal force acting on that particular failure plane divided by the area of that particular failure plane. Now, what I know is that the normal force component what we had is n. So for every action, there should be an equal and opposite reaction. So what should be your normal reaction force that should be getting developed? Okay, so that normal reaction force, what should be getting developed? Perpendicular to the failure plane. So how much should be the normal force that should be getting resisted? Means that should be equal to that of the normal force component that you are coming into picture. Okay, that you are coming across with. So in simple terms, if I go on to understand what is the amount of normal stress that is getting developed. Okay, so normal stress that is getting developed, it's nothing but your normal force component divided by area. Okay, so what is my normal force component equal to? It's nothing but W cos alpha. So where the W is nothing but gamma into L into H into cos alpha divided by the area on which this particular normal force is getting developed. So it's nothing but the area of your failure surface that you are coming across with respect to your element what you have chosen. So that area is what we have already calculated, which is nothing but BC into every 1 meter in this direction. Okay, so if I go on to write down my sigma is nothing but BC is what? L by cos alpha. So LL gets cancelled, and what I'll be having there is cos alpha goes to the numerator. So in simple terms, I can write down my sigma value as gamma into H into cos square alpha. Okay, so this I am going to be getting upon substituting here. BC is equal to L by cos alpha. L gets cancelled, cos alpha goes to the numerator, and what I'll have in place of sigma is gamma into H into cos square alpha. So once we know your sigma value, then your total shear strength that is mobilized or resisting shear strength of the soil is what I can write it as sigma dash plus gamma into H into cos square alpha into tan phi dash. So with this understanding, I can go on to write down your expression for factor of safety, and that expression for factor of safety in terms of total stress that is getting resisted is nothing but the shear strength of the soil. So this goes to the numerator, this expression, and whereas this expression is going to be represented in the denominator. Okay, so what I'll simply have is C dash plus gamma H into cos square alpha into tan phi dash divided by gamma into H into sin alpha cos alpha is going to be my expression for representing the factor of safety of this particular infinite slope, which has not got any effect of your water table. Okay, so let me simply go to the expression what I was trying to refer to. So yeah, please look at all those terms which I have talked about. Normal force component, gamma into H into L into cos alpha, tangential force component which was responsible for causing the sliding in the soil, which is gamma into H into L into sin alpha. And if I want to write down what is the available shear strength for that particular soil, which is nothing but C dash plus sigma dash tan phi dash. We said sigma dash if I am not taking into consideration of the effect of water table. So your normal effective stress is nothing but simply normal total stress minus pore water pressure is simply 0. So my normal stress, what is getting developed on that failure surface. So that's nothing but the normal force that is to be resisted divided by the area on which that particular normal force component is acting. So normal force is gamma into H into L by cos alpha divided by the area is nothing but L by cos alpha into 1 meter in this direction. Okay, so that's how we are going to be getting this particular expression. I'm just showing you those expressions what we have got after discussing everything in detail. So how much is that shear stress that is getting applied along that failure surface, which is trying to cause the failure in the soil? After understanding it, if I go on to write down what is your factor of safety you have got for that particular infinite slope without taking into consideration of your water table. So this is that expression what we are getting for factor of safety. Okay, so hope this is the same expression what we have derived a couple of minutes earlier. Now, in case if I am taking into consideration of the effect of your water table, okay, before talking about the effect of water table, let's say even without the effect of water table, if I am trying to understand this expression, what we have derived for factor of safety is C5 soil without effect of water table. Now let's say this is the condition 1. Condition 2, let's say the soil is only having cohesion. Okay, soil has got only cohesion, whereas your phi value of that particular soil is 0, and still we are not considering the effect of water table. So in such case, what becomes my expression for factor of safety? Okay, so my generalized expression was C dash plus this is gamma into h into cos square alpha into tan phi dash divided by total shear stress which was developed along that failure surface. We have represented it as gamma into h into sin alpha into cos alpha. I hope this is a generalized expression what we had. Now in this case, what we are saying, the soil is having only cohesion, whereas your angle of shearing resistance value is 0. That means phi value is not existing. If phi is not existing, then automatically tan 0 is 0. So you will not have this term existing. So what happens to your factor of safety term? So factor of safety is nothing but C dash by gamma into h into sin alpha cos alpha. This is the expression what we are going to be having for factor of safety in case if soil is having only cohesion, whereas the angle of shearing resistance is 0. And third case, phi value is greater than 0, whereas your C value is 0. It means angle of shearing resistance is only existing, whereas your cohesion value for that particular soil is 0. Okay. So if that is the case, what happens to my factor of safety for this particular third condition? Generalized expression, I can go back to C again. So if cohesion value is 0, then what happens to your first term? C dash is nothing but 0. What I'll simply have is gamma into h into cos square alpha into tan phi dash divided by gamma into h into sin alpha cos alpha. So cos alpha I can cancel out, h cancel out, gamma cancelled out. Then what I can rewrite according to my convenience is tan phi dash by tan alpha. Understand what is that I have represented? So my factor of safety in simplest form, I am getting it as tan phi dash by tan alpha. In case if I consider your slope, that so-called infinite slope, what I am looking at, okay, if infinite slope is critically stable, what does this word critically stable means? It means that the factor of safety is equal to 1, just at the verge of failure, that's it, but not failing, but at the verge of failure. So in such case, the factor of safety of the slope is equal to 1. In case if the factor of safety of the slope is equal to 1, therefore what I can say is that tan alpha is nothing but it is equal to tan phi or phi dash. Therefore alpha is nothing but equal to phi dash. So what does this statement says? Alpha is equal to phi dash. It means that your soil, so-called whatever you are looking at, extended to an infinite distance, that so-called the slope of that infinite ground or the angle of that infinite slope maximum can be up to at what inclination that particular infinite slope would exist means, okay, this angle what we are calling it as alpha. Okay, so what shall be this alpha angle at most without having the failure in the slope, if I want to understand? So at most this alpha angle can be equal to your angle of shearing resistance of that particular soil. In case if the alpha angle what you want to maintain for that infinite slope is more than that of your angle of shearing resistance of that particular soil, for sure the soil will undergo the failure. Okay. Earlier, I hope in couple of lectures before, we have talked about a term called as angle of repose. I hope you might have remembered that. What does that word angle of repose means? It is that angle to which your soil by its own, the so-called cohesionless soil, okay, your sandy soil, by its own can stand At what inclination? By its own, the so-called cohesionless soil can stand in the form of a heap. Okay, so that angle is what we are calling it as your angle of repose. Any other angle at which, if you want to maintain that particular heap of that sandy soil deposit, you cannot have, because furthermore increase in the slope would cause the failure in the soil there. Okay, so please do understand. At most maximum, to what angle you can have your slope provided, either for infinite slope, the same funda would also become valid in the case if you are talking about your finite slopes also, which we'll try to see later on. Okay. So next case is, if we are taking into consideration of the effect of water table. Now, in consideration of the effect of water table, how do we calculate the shear strength of the soil? How much is the shear strength of the soil that gets mobilized, and how much is that shear stress that is getting developed along the failure surface, which is responsible for causing the failure in the soil. Now, if I am trying to talk about the same thing in considering the presence of water table, so my factor of safety expression will not get changed, everything remains same, but only because of the effect of water table, what additionally comes into picture is your pore water pressure additionally comes into picture, because earlier I said there is no effect of water table. As there is no effect of water table, your pore water pressure was considered to be 0. But here, as there is an effect of water table, so you are going to come across with the pore water pressure term coming into picture. So how much is going to be that pore water pressure value, which we should take into consideration in the expression for factor of safety. Otherwise, there is nothing different what we are going to be coming across with. Now, just look at here. Here itself, I'll be trying to explain. Okay, we said the distance at which your water table is there from the failure surface is something small h, which we have already talked about. And what we have understood is that the direction which is said to be perpendicular. Okay, so the direction which is said to be perpendicular to this failure surface, we said that direction which is said to be perpendicular to the failure surface makes an angle of inclination alpha with the vertical. Okay, so this A to B distance, capital A and capital B, whatever the points that I am referring to, where that height A to B is nothing but small h. I repeat, small h, which is the vertical direction. So with that vertical direction, your so-called the direction which is normal to the failure surface. What is that direction normal to the failure surface? So this is my failure surface. My direction normal to the failure surface is indicated by your let's say AC line, capital AC line. I repeat, capital AC line. Okay, so this is capital A, this is capital C. This A to C line is indicating you the direction which is normal to that of your vertical. Now, what is going to be your AC value equal to? If AB distance is equal to h, then automatically my AC value is nothing but, because here it is going to be making right angle. So AC is nothing but it is AB cos alpha, where AB is small h, it is nothing but h into cos alpha is going to be my AC distance. Now at this particular point A, if I want to understand how much is the pore water pressure that is getting developed, because where is that I am trying to calculate your effective normal stress? Effective normal stress I am trying to calculate at your failure surface. So at that failure surface, how much is that pore water pressure that is getting developed if I want to understand? So the amount of pore water pressure what is getting developed is nothing but it is equal to pressure head into unit weight of water. Okay, so pressure head where I want to calculate at any point on that failure surface, if I try to calculate how much is my pressure head, then that will solve my problem. Okay, so if I am going to place a standpipe or a piezometric tube, then try to understand that the rise in water level in that standpipe is still here. Okay, now I want to understand what is this. Let's say this point is something point B. So how much is the rise in water level in the standpipe? Rise in water level in the standpipe is nothing but distance from point A to point D. Okay, so I want to know what is the distance from the point A to D. So for that, what I am just trying to do is, this is my infinite slope. This is your water table position. This distance in the vertical direction is your small h. Let's say that point is something A. that so-called vertical distance, what I am referring to, is nothing but the distance between point A to point B. Now, the direction which is said to be perpendicular to the failure surface, which I am representing with the line AC. And we know that this angle is alpha. And this is perpendicular. Perpendicular to a point C at which I am indicating a perpendicular. This is said to be perpendicular with respect to your point, whatever you want to draw. Okay. Right. So we said this A to C distance, sorry, AB distance is nothing but small h, from which we said AC distance is nothing but h cos alpha. That is very clear. Now, what I am saying at point A, when I am trying to insert a standpipe for understanding to what extent the water gets raised in the standpipe, because that will tell me what will be your pore water pressure that is getting developed. Okay. So I understand that the water gets raised till this particular level. In the standpipe, water gets raised till here. So that point is what that height is what I am calling it as, with reference to point A. That height to which the water gets raised in the standpipe is nothing but AD distance. Now, if I want to calculate what is this AD distance, so what I am just trying to do is from point C, I am just trying to drop a perpendicular onto that AB line. So where that perpendicular meets your AB line at some point D, which we are calling it as your AD distance, and that AD distance is nothing but your pressure head. Okay, so that's nothing but pressure head value corresponding to the position of point A. How much is the pressure head value corresponding to the position of point A? So what is that AD distance equal to? So AD distance is once again nothing but AC is h cos alpha, and it is the component of h cos alpha is projected onto your AD line. So which is nothing but h cos alpha into its projection on the AD line. It's once again cos alpha, which comes out to be h cos square alpha. So once AD distance is known, what is AD distance indicating? It is nothing but it is indicating you the pressure head at point A. Okay. So once the pressure head at point A is known, then your pore water pressure is nothing but that is pressure head at point A divided, into unit weight of water. So pressure head at point A is h into cos square alpha into unit weight of water is gamma W. So once I know my pore water pressure, then I can go on to write down my factor of safety expression, which is equal to C dash plus sigma dash, where sigma dash is nothing but total normal stress. What was our expression for total normal stress? Expression for total normal stress was gamma into h into cos square alpha minus your expression for your pore water pressure. So what is your pore water pressure? Small h into cos square alpha into gamma W, this total into tan phi dash, because C dash plus sigma dash tan phi dash. What is sigma dash? Effective stress, which is nothing but total stress minus pore water pressure. Okay, this total term divided by gamma into h into sin alpha into cos alpha. So this is the expression for your factor of safety, considering the effect of your water table. Okay, so I am considering the effect of your water table. In case if the water table do not exist, this is my generalized expression. If I say if there is no effect of water table, if I say there is no effect of water table, then what happens to this term? This term in the sense this term. If there is no effect of water table, automatically this h value would be how much? Small h, whatever we have referred. Small h is nothing but equal to 0, because there is no effect of water table. So if small h is equal to 0, then automatically this term is not there. So what I'll have is C dash plus gamma h into cos square alpha into tan phi dash divided by gamma h into sin alpha into cos alpha, which we have earlier derived it. And if at all in this case, if the water table is rising till the ground surface, I repeat, if the water table, what I am referring to, is rising till the ground surface. In case if the water table is rising till the ground surface, then what happens to your small h value? Small h value is nothing but it is equal to your, okay, what is this? This is nothing but capital H, we said, as your height of your soil layer there above the failure plane. Okay, so which we have called it as capital H. If small h becomes equal to capital H, that means if the water table is rising till the ground surface, then automatically what happens to your expression for factor of safety? Expression for factor of safety comes out to be C dash plus gamma into H into cos square alpha minus small h becomes equal to capital H. So capital H into gamma W into cos square alpha into tan phi dash, this total divided by gamma into H into sin alpha into cos alpha. In simple terms, I am just rewriting it. Factor of safety is equal to C dash plus, yeah, in this term and in this term, what is common? Capital H into cos square alpha is common. Okay, so I can simply rewrite it as gamma minus gamma W into capital H into cos square alpha into tan phi dash divided by gamma into H into sin alpha into cos alpha. So this is going to be my expression. What is gamma minus gamma W? Where here gamma indicates it's a saturated unit weight, minus gamma W indicates unit weight of water. Saturated unit weight minus unit weight of water is what I can simply write it as here submerged unit weight, which is nothing but gamma sub I can write it as, or simply gamma dash is what I can write it as. Okay, so accordingly you can write down your expression for factor of safety. So once you know the expression for factor of safety, then where you have taken into consideration of the both C and phi parameters for the soil. In case if soil is purely cohesive, in the sense phi value is 0, then the second term completely gets cancelled. What I'll have is factor of safety simply equal to C dash by gamma into H into sin alpha into cos alpha. In case if the soil is said to be purely cohesionless, it means C dash value is equal to 0, only angle of shearing resistance would be existing. So in such case, what I'll have is gamma dash, which is called as your submerged unit weight, into capital H into cos square alpha into tan phi dash divided by gamma into H into sin alpha into cos alpha. Okay, so in the process, if I cancel your terms in the numerator and denominator, capital H gets cancelled, cos alpha gets cancelled. What I'll have is gamma dash in the numerator into cos alpha into tan phi dash divided by gamma or gamma sach in the denominator into sin alpha is what I'll have. In the process of rewriting it, I'll be having my expression as factor of safety is equal to gamma dash by gamma sach into tan phi dash divided by tan alpha. This expression for factor of safety I am going to get when C dash value of that particular soil is 0, whereas here only phi dash value exists for that particular soil. Okay, so that's how you go on to calculate. Now, what is going to happen because of that water table? Let's say, for example, an understanding with respect to this itself, if I am trying to continue further. Because of the presence of water table, what has happened to the factor of safety of that particular soil, which has got only angle of shearing resistance, there is no cohesion. Okay. Generally, from our typical understanding what we had earlier, submerged unit weight of the soil, whenever we are talking about, so whenever the soil is said to be in submerged condition, approximately we say the strength of the soil gets reduced by 50%. I repeat, the strength of the soil gets reduced by 50%. Why do we say the strength of the soil is getting reduced by 50%? Let us try to understand that same thing here. Okay, so gamma dash approximately comes out to be half of your gamma sat. Why is it? Generally, the saturated unit weight of different type of soils goes somewhere in between 18 to 21 kilonewton per meter cube. For typical type of soils which are said to be saturated, the unit weight of the soil somewhere varies in between 18 to 21 kilonewton per meter cube. And how do we calculate your submerged unit weight or gamma dash value? Gamma dash is nothing but saturated unit weight minus unit weight of water. What is approximate value of gamma W? 10. And the average value of gamma sach, if I consider it to be something 20, as it is varying somewhere in between 18 to 21, average value if I consider it to be 20 kilonewton per meter cube, saturated unit weight. So what is happening to your gamma dash value then? It is nothing but 20 minus 10, which is equal to 10. What is 10 equal to? Half of your 20. Okay, so what is happening to the submerged unit weight of the soil means whenever the soil is in submerged condition, approximately the strength of or the submerged unit weight of the soil is coming out to be half of your saturated unit weight of the soil. Whenever I say the submerged unit weight is becoming half of your saturated unit weight, let me go on to continue here, further writing it, the expression of factor of safety. So which is half of gamma sat into tan phi dash divided by gamma sat into tan alpha. Gamma sat gets cancelled. So my expression for factor of safety is half into tan phi dash by tan alpha. Earlier, if you can recall, when there is no effect of water table, for the same cohesionless soil condition when we have discussed, factor of safety was equal to tan phi dash by tan alpha. But here, because of the existence of water table till the ground, the factor of safety is becoming half of the factor of safety what we had earlier in dry condition. Okay. So what is ultimately happening here is the strength of the soil because of that water table position, the strength of the soil is decreasing. That is what I meant to tell you. Okay. So the slope which is said to be stable now may not be stable because of that rise in water level in that particular soil or because of heavy rainfall. Why do we say the slopes are getting failed? Because the strength of that soil along that slope is decreasing. Why is it decreasing? Because of that so-called factor of safety of the soil is becoming half of the factor of safety what we had earlier when the slope was in dry condition. The soil there is existing in dry condition. So in such case, we didn't had any issue. But as dry in the sense, no existence of water table. Soil could still contain some moisture in it, but there is no existence of water table. But here, because of the existence of water table, you are seeing that the strength of the soil at most becoming half of its original strength when there is no existence of water table. Once the strength becomes half, then automatically the factor of safety of that slope becomes half. The slope which was said to be very much safe earlier is now no more going to be safe sometimes. That's the reason we say whenever there is a rainfall, there is many chances or many possibilities you come across with the failures in your slopes. Though those slopes were stable earlier, but now they are no more going to be stable. Okay. So these are your typical expressions as per our discussion. So upon deriving it, as like what we have discussed, we'll be getting the expressions like this. So in the case of your purely cohesive soil, if I consider phi value equal to 0, I'll have my expression for factor of safety. If I consider purely cohesionless soil, it means your C value equal to 0. I'll be having factor of safety expression. So accordingly, I can try to rewrite as per our own convenience. Okay. So that's what I have talked about. Okay. Please do go through the slides. Everything, whatever I have discussed, are mentioned here. So in the critical condition earlier, in the case of no existence of water table, we said alpha is equal to phi dash. But in the case of your water table, so what is happening to this alpha value? What could be your maximum slope of your what could be the maximum angle of that particular sloping ground at which the critical condition of the slope would be existing means it is only earlier it was equal to your angle of shearing distance of the soil, but now it is becoming only half of the angle of shearing distance of the soil. So with that understanding, I have a couple of problems which are given here. So please do solve these two problems what are given here with respect to the data or the expressions what we have already discussed. Only thing is that you should understand what is asked in the question and accordingly solve them. We'll stop our discussion for now and we'll continue our discussion in the next class.